Hello, my fellow kick-ass modern moms. I wanted to pop in here real quick and just share some nuggets with you guys, some quick little tips for staying organized during the holiday season. Look, I'm making the same thing as Dolly. Boop. Freaking love Dolly. I was supposed to be recording a podcast right now, but the person I was going to be interviewing had to reschedule. So I'm just going to use this opportunity to be able to connect with you guys. And so some of the most common things that I've been sharing when I appear on other people's podcasts recently is a lot of people want to know about house managers, hero house managers, and how that all works and what that looks like. And the other thing that people want to know is how can they start systemizing in their household with what they already have, like before even jumping into Hero House Manager fun. What can they do to start systemizing? And I want to share 2 tips with you guys. And the coolest thing is that these 2 tips like go perfectly right into a house manager helping you once you already have them in place. And so these are systems that you can put in place that are pretty easy to set up, and then it really exponentially makes your life easier once you do. And it's still recording right now. Okay, I think I got you guys. I think I got you. My internet's being like okay, and then so once you have these systems in place, it's so cool because then once you have a house manager coming to help you, you can, it says, okay, my internet's being so spotty, so it might be like glitching me out in between these times. So anyway, so you can just hand these systems off to the house manager once you have a house manager in place. The first system that I absolutely love using is a shared Google Calendar. If you don't already have a shared calendar for your family, this is like the easiest way to stay organized. Many of you already do have shared calendar systems, and this can be like, you can have a wall calendar. A bunch of people like the Jesse Eisler big ass calendar that they put in their hallway so that they could see a whole bunch of stuff at a glance, like the whole year I think it puts up at a glance, which is pretty cool. I've always wanted to get one of those, but I don't think I have a wall. I don't think I have a wall in my house that it would go on. I actually love using a digital version because then everybody can access it from no matter where they are. So you don't have to be like, oh, let me check the calendar when I get home. Like instead of having to say that all the time, you can check it right then and there to be able to like say no to people and not have to get back to them, because sometimes some of the hassle is that you have to keep following up with people to let them know whether you can come or not. And if you could just check it right then and there and then be like, no, I have something else. Like it makes it easier for you to say no instead of maybe. Because every time you say maybe, it's leaving a door open that then you still have to feel like you say yes. You feel like you have to feel like you have to say yes, even though you don't want to say yes to all these engagements. Like you want to say no, you want to protect your time, and you end up saying yes to stuff. So a shared calendar is amazing. And here's what's so cool about it is like, if you have a shared calendar, you can put like all your kids' games on there. You can put their school engagements. You can put, if I am going to be going to tea with my best friend, which I'm doing next weekend, we are going to a tea ceremony on a Saturday morning. I think it's actually the winter solstice that we're doing this on, which is pretty cool. Like I can put that on there so that my husband, every time he hears about something going on for Scouts or his band or whatever other extracurricular kind of things he does on weekends, then he can go and see, like every time they're like, oh, what's going on this Saturday? And he feels like, oh, I don't have anything going on. But then he looks and he's like, oh wait, but Brenda has something going on. So I have to make sure that I don't commit to something and then the kids don't have a parent like left to hang out with them. And so this makes it so easy for you to get your me time in, because you set your appointments with your friends and with yourself and the things that you want to do for your self-care, and you put it on the calendar, and then nobody else can schedule on top of that. And the same for like, you know, if there's stuff going on, like you're going out of town, your trips or stuff like that, you can block it out. So what I love to do is at the very beginning of the school year, whenever my kids come home with those calendars saying when all the breaks are for the year, I go and I add those all to the calendar. And then I kind of like brainstorm what I would think that we would want to do for that trip. So if it's like a spring break trip and I'm like, I definitely want to go on a place that's like a flying away kind of place, like a further distance, because we get a whole week off plus the 2 weekends on either side. So we could do like a 10-day long trip with the kids. Whereas whenever it's like Martin Luther King weekend and we only get Monday off, and maybe we could do like Friday, like take the kids out early half day to Monday, we get like this little short weekend. That's like a driving distance kind of a place. So I will kind of put ideas on there for what I want to do. Like, okay, maybe we can go up to The cabin we like to go to. Maybe we can go to our sailboat in San Diego that weekend because that's driving distance. Oh, that's the flying week. Okay, well, maybe we'll fly across the country to like something in Florida or on the East Coast or go visit relatives or whatever it is. And so I'll kind of map out ahead of time and I'll put those all in the calendar. So that way then whenever somebody's like, oh, I'm hosting this retreat, and then they show me whatever the dates are, I'm like, oh, that overlaps, and that's going to be when we're in Florida. I mean, I didn't buy the tickets yet, but in my brain, we're going to Florida. And so I can be like, no, I'm not going to be able to do that retreat. Instead of me being like, oh, well, you know, like maybe I could fit it in and say yes to too many things. So Enneagram 7 right here. And so that's one of the number one things I can tell you is if you do not yet have a shared calendar for your family, it is absolutely game changer. It just makes your life so much easier and it helps you to actually get the self-care that you need. And so I know it's funny because I posted in the group a few days ago, how do you prioritize your time for yourself? And a lot of people's reaction was the laughing emoji. Like instead of liking it, hearting it, whatever, everybody was like laughing emoji to that. And that just shows like just how funny that is to a lot of moms. That it's like, what's prioritizing ourselves? What does that even mean, right? Like, yeah, right, that doesn't happen. But it's one of those things that can happen if you have the right systems in place. And it's something as easy as a shared Google Calendar that lets you get that time in place. Like if you want to go join a bowling league with some other moms, which a few of you have done, which I think is so cool. And it's like every Tuesday now, you guys all go and bowl together. I think that's so cool that you guys are doing that. Like, but the reason that's happening is because it's on the calendar and your spouse and your kids, they are respecting that time on the calendar that you've put on the calendar that you're going to go bowl on Tuesday nights. So if you want to get more self-care in the upcoming year, if you want to get more time where you prioritize yourself as a mom, you need to schedule your downtime. And it feels like an oxymoron that you would have scheduled downtime, but that's how it actually happens because it's like, think of it like you're making an appointment with your future self and you don't want to let her down. So schedule your downtime, put it on a shared calendar where the rest of your family can see it, and then they will honor it. And maybe they don't honor it at first because they like don't take you seriously because they're like, oh yeah, you always say you're going to do that, but you don't actually do it. Well, then you got to train yourself. You got to train them to start respecting it. So the more you're good on your word and you're like, this Sunday, I'm going to go use that gift certificate at the spa that I've had for 2 years. And hopefully it still works because somebody gave it to me as a gift and they still haven't used it. Like, so by golly, I'm going to go to the spa this weekend, and you put it on the calendar. Don't unschedule it. Like stick to it and don't give in. Don't go rescuing people from their problems. Don't go rescue your kids. Don't go rescue your spouse from whatever other problems they have that takes it back off of the calendar. You stick with it. Keep that appointment to yourself. Pretend like you have an appointment with me. Pretend you're going to come hang out with me and I'm going to be real pissed off if you don't show up. Okay? Because I want you to report back to me how you're doing this for yourselves, you guys. It's like, schedule yourself your time, put it on a shared calendar, make sure everybody in your family respects it, make sure you respect that time with yourself, and you will see such a huge difference in your shift, in your energy. Also, it really just makes a difference in keeping track of everybody's schedules for the whole family. And so knowing like that I don't have to go finding that piece of paper that has my daughter's soccer games on it to figure out which school we're traveling to on Tuesday to go see her play. I know it's already in my calendar and it has all the information in there as far as like the location and stuff like that. And then this is a really great system that once you have a house manager in place, like now my new house manager, who's amazing because my last one was not so amazing, but my new one is so good, you guys. Oh, I love her so much. I love her so much. She's amazing. So she now handles part of our calendar for us. She's doing calendaring. So she's like my personal assistant and a house manager all at the same time. It's amazing. So I have her take all those papers that my kids bring home, like here's all the soccer games, or they come home from scouts and there's like, here's all the upcoming events. I'm like, put all these on a calendar. And I tell her anything that's written on a piece of paper at all, type it in the notes section. Like if it doesn't have to do with the time, it doesn't have to do with the place, it doesn't have to do with the title of what it is, but there's still information on there that's like, make sure you bring your hiking boots for this hike. I don't know, whatever it is. Like, make sure anything that's extra notes on the piece of paper goes in the extra notes section on the calendar entry. We do the same thing with if there's like a birthday party and, you know, you get the invitation, it'll say, you know, he's really into Legos. I will put that in the notes section of the calendar entry. Or it's a surprise party. Make sure you park around the corner or something like that. Anything extra, I put it in the notes section. Then if I am texting back and forth with the person who is putting on that event, say it's a birthday party, right? And I'm going to be texting back and forth with that mom to be like, hey, we have another engagement. We're going to be a little bit late, blah, blah, blah. Oh, she's like, okay, yeah, no problem. Then, you know, whatever. I will copy and paste those pieces of the thread of the text. I will put those in the notes section also. So that way then if my husband's the one actually taking them to the birthday party, he can look through and see whatever conversation already transpired without asking me and me having to go back and dig through my text to try and find that information. Like it's all right there. So this is the coolest thing is like when you have a shared calendar, it communicates for you. So that everyone doesn't have to keep coming to you and asking you, and you don't have to keep track of it all the time. It's in there. The calendar keeps track of it for you. And other people can manage it. Other people can enter the information in there. It's amazing. The number 2 tip that I have for you is along the same lines, but it's kind of like the next level of it, is shared Google Drive. Using shared documents for things. So every time you're thinking of like a list of something like that, like right now, right? Like Christmas lists. Maybe you've already bought some gifts for your in-laws, but your husband doesn't know because you're the magic maker and you do that kind of stuff. But then he's like at the last minute going to be like, oh, I got all these ideas for you. Or, oh, I think we should get this stuff. And you're like, I already got all this stuff. Make a shared Google Drive that has a folder for the different categories in it, and then share those lists, share those documents with your husband, with your house manager, with your babysitters, with your kids if they're teenagers and they're old enough to enter and edit stuff on their own. So make a Google Drive, and then every time there's something that you are like going to put it in the notepad of your phone to remember it, or you're going to write it down on a Post-it note, or you're going to write it in the good old-fashioned planner like I do. Like this is like all day long. If I'm like, I think of something that I'm like, oh wait, I have to remember to do that, my to-do list. I just put it somewhere and it goes on this list. Well, then this goes into these shared files that then I can like move things around and categorize it or give it off to the people that it needs to go to. That's not me. Like there's stuff on there for my handyman. There's stuff on there that I have to ask my husband about. There's like an Ask Mike list on this thing that I'm like, oh, I have to remember to ask him that. So yeah, and it's like the best. And so I used to just be a notepad person, like the notepad on my phone. I would put everything in notepads. But then it's so hard to share those. Like you kind of can, but you kind of can't. Also, they're not as easy to search. And so sometimes like my handyman recently, I was talking to him and he's like doing these big projects. So he doesn't really have time, but he's like, actually, you know what? I can come Friday afternoon because the job I'm working at is right by your house. So I can stop by and I can be there for like 2 hours max. Like I could do like 2 hours worth of work. So if there's like 5 things you want me to do in those 2 hours, let me know. And so then I don't have to be like, crap, where's that Post-it note that I put the list of things for the handyman, right? I can just go in my Google Drive, go into the search tab at the top and just type handyman. And it'll be like my list. Or if I can like think like, well, I know for sure that I need him to fix our light switch on our front porch. Like I know that's on there. So I can search light switch or front porch because I know that's going to be embedded in that list. And then it'll show me the rest of the list of whatever's on there. So it's like leaving yourself breadcrumbs, a Hansel and Gretel breadcrumbs of clues to be able to find your own stuff again. And so it just makes life so much easier because then also what I could do is like, I could just take that handyman list or the section, right? The section I made and just throw it into a brand new Google Doc, share that Google Doc with my handyman and be like, here's your punch list when you get here. I'm actually going to be doing this other thing with my kids, but here's your list. And then that way I don't even need to be micromanaging him while he's here. Like he's here all the time. He knows his way around. He knows where like all the supplies are kept. If he's missing something from his truck, he knows where to find our stuff. So like this just makes it so much easier because it allows for things to do the communicating for us instead of us being in charge of keeping track of all this stuff. Like a kind of a side extension from the Google Drive, shared Google Drive that I love to do is it's called AnyList. That's one of my favorite places for making actual like grocery lists, shopping lists. And I'll use that whenever we travel, when we go on our trips, because then I can take our same list that we've used like the last time we went to the cabin. The next time we go to the cabin, I can be like, okay, what did we pack that time? And then make a duplicate copy of that and then redo and like edit just a few things for whatever that trip is. Or like the last time we went to the sailboat, what did we take? Okay, and make a duplicate and then edit it to make one of those. You do the same thing in a Google Doc because you can set it up as a checklist template in there. And so you can do the same thing in there. But yeah, like just having these shared things, use the robots, man, use the robots to your advantage. And so here's another one that then like, now this transitions so perfectly into having a house manager do it, because as soon as you have it all in Google Docs already, like every time it's like in your brain, you're like, this needs to go somewhere, because I can't store all this in my brain. And so you put in just a quick Google Doc. It can be as messy and as like disorganized as possible to just get it out. Just get it out and let it live somewhere that's other than your brain. Then that goes in whatever folder you want to put it in. Again, doesn't have to be super organized. Like good enough is good enough. Then you can share that with your house manager and say, hey, take all this jibber jabber and interpret it and make it into a more organized list for me. And you like let them be the one to organize your thoughts for you and put it into a cohesive list that then they can make your checklist out of for your own household. And so a bunch of you guys have recently downloaded the checklist that I have available, like my house manager checklist. On my website, you can click a button to get a copy of my house manager checklist on there. Let me tell you, those checklists were made by my house manager. She took all the jibber jabber that I had dumped. I had brain dumped all this jibber jabber out of my brain and put it into like Post-it notes, just random like, printer papers, all these places. I was like the extra project list was seriously like one of those yellow legal pad things that there was like one weekend that I was like, this is all the stuff that I need to get caught up on. And I just listed it all out on a yellow legal pad. And so I gave it to her and she attached it. Like you'll see on the checklist, it has Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which is pretty similar, the same checklist over and over and over with a few changes according to the day. Like one of them has vacuuming, the other one has rolling trashes out. One of them has, this kid's laundry, the other one has my husband's laundry. Like depending on the day, that's how we have it organized. But then at the end of those checklists is the special projects list. That was seriously just like on a piece of paper that I gave her where it was like a brain dump one Saturday. And I was like, you know what? Here's this thing that I brain dumped. And then I never did anything else. I think I started to pull out my kids' clothes to try and switch them over. And then they were still sitting out. Like there was like this bin of clothes that I still had to go through to figure out, okay, are you in this size yet? Should I put them back in the garage and wait till you're bigger? What clothes are in your drawer that don't fit you anymore? They're too small, and let's give them to another family. Like I started the project, and then that's where it was gonna die. It was gonna die in the half done state. And so I'm like, here's this list. Take it over for me. Close this loop. I opened a loop. Go close it. And so those checklists that you guys get were made by. Once we take a brain dump? Exactly. A brain dump. Get the brain dump out. Otherwise, you're just gonna fill up. I seriously, I wake up at 3 a.m. with lists rattling around in my brain. And so I keep a dry erase board on my nightstand, just to be like, okay, this needs to go somewhere so I can fall back to sleep. Because if I tell myself, oh yeah, I'll have to remember that when I wake up, my brain won't let me fall back to sleep because it's like, no, you won't remember. And then you're gonna be mad at yourself that you forgot this thing. So we're gonna just stay awake right now until we make sure that you remember it. And I'm like, I don't want to stay awake right now. I want to go back to sleep right now. I don't want to think about all these stupid to-do lists. So I do a brain dump on a dry erase board on my nightstand because then I don't even have to turn on a light. It's like such a fluid motion that I can just scribble it. And that goes on a checklist. I'm like, house manager, take my crazy scribbles from 3 a.m. and put them in our household binder. Go make it into a checklist. So all of this stuff is like, you do not have to be the most organized one in your house when you bring in a house manager to be the organized person for you, but you do keep track of a lot of information. So it needs to go somewhere that's not in your brain or you're going to go crazy. So these are the two ways that I tell people over and over and over and over when I go on podcasts, when people ask me like, what are some of the best household systems that we can implement today? Shared calendars and shared Google Drives to brain dump all your information. And the same goes for your spouse too. Like they can put information on there with, like right now I'm in charge of figuring out the insurance for our rental house because our deadbeat tenant that was over there wouldn't let the insurance people on the property to take pictures. So now they're like, well, we're not going to give you insurance until we get pictures. So now I got to go like either reschedule them or send them some pictures that I already have. But this is where now I'm like, okay, now this is on my plate. And I'm going to like quickly upload a bunch of stuff and be like, done. But this is where the communication can happen back and forth. So these are like my two favorite systems to use. And then piggyback, I'll give you a bonus one. My other absolute favorite thing to utilize to keep yourself sane, especially this time of year, outsource the groceries. Do Instacart. Seriously, if you're not already doing Target drive-up orders, stop going in the store. They're gonna get you with all that cute Christmas stuff. You're gonna buy a bunch of stupid shit that you don't need. Don't do it. So don't go in the store. Do drive-up orders or have them delivered to your house if you have shipped with the T at the end. And then use Instacart. Do not go in Costco right now. Oh my gosh, especially if you have kids. I don't care that they have the shopping cart that fits 2 kids side by side. Don't go in there. You're going to end up buying like a pie and things like that you actually didn't want to get because you're like, I just have to stand in line this whole time and I'm staring at stuff and it tells me I should buy it. Don't go in the store. Don't go in Costco. Don't go in the stores. Get stuff from Instacart because those Instacart people are super fast and they're good. And then they drop it off right at your doorstep so you don't have to load it into your car with little kids screaming in their car seats and unload it from your car when you get home. It just shows up at your doorstep and then you like shove it in the front door enough to like pull all the stuff out and then shove the boxes right back out the front door to get thrown away. Use that system also. That's one of my favorites. Instacart. It's $10 a month. You will absolutely save $10 by not going in stores. There's like, you're spending way more than $10 a month on stuff you don't need because you're in the store and it's impulse buy stuff. So pay the $10 a month or get the annual subscription for $99. Like I should have an affiliate link for this, but it's worth it because you'll save money. You seriously will. You'll save money and you'll absolutely save time. So much time. You're going to buy back your time big time. So those are my 2 best tips for you guys for the holidays. And before I go, I got to show you, check out my new digs in my office. You guys saw online I was selling these pinball machines, which have been, there was five pinball machines in here, you guys. We're still selling some. But these 2 are the 2 that are staying. And then now we got the new couch. And I finally got to hang up my new art that my personal chef framed for me. We got this when we were in Mexico in February, this embroidered tapestry. And then she did a custom frame on it because you know what the cool thing is about having household help is they have so many hidden talents. So my personal chef, the artist that she is actually an artist who does custom framing. And that was what she did for her previous job. So I have her do custom framing for me and it's way cheaper than if I actually go to a custom framing shop because she knows all the little deals and tricks and the places to go to get it, like the scraps for cheap. So she does an amazing job. So anyways, the next one I'm going to have her frame is this one, because that's just like an Aaron Brothers frame that actually doesn't even fit the picture. It's covering up like 30% of the picture. So she's going to do that one for me in January. Super excited about that. These are things that are on the list. It's never going to happen if I do it. I gotta give it to other people to do this stuff. Like otherwise it won't get done. Also, she's saving me money because she's doing this stuff for way cheaper than if I went to go cross this off the list and went to a frame shop. This would have been like $1,000 instead of a couple hundred. Like, saves me money big time. So, hope everybody has an amazing Friday. Happy holidays. Happy Dolly days. I just love Dolly. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon. Love ya. Oh, button.